Hey, kia ora koutou whānau. Welcome to another episode of Big Hairy News. Apologies for the delay. I don't know what's been happening in chat, Chewy. You've been telling people about what's been going on? Or do we need to explain?
I apparently provided excellent customer service to one of our viewers today.
Oh yeah, who was that?
Politikiwi popped into the shop today. I didn't realise because he kept that very quiet. But apparently I was excellent. Truly.
Yes, look, apologies for starting that. I don't know whether you've shared in the chat what was going on, but my partner was in hospital today because of COVID, needing IV fluids and IV antibiotics and a chest x-ray, and didn't know what was going on all day, didn't know what was happening, communicating backwards and forwards. Mostly was in there for the length of time from like 11 this morning because of, an overwork system, which is fine. But at 9 minutes to 10, the phone rang, good to be picked up. And so I've got to say, love Dunedin, that you get a phone call at 9 minutes to 10. And at 9 minutes past 10, so that's 18 minutes later, you go, I've gone from my house into town to the hospital, picked up, come back, walk into the studio, push play. 18 minutes. The thing about Dunedin is everywhere is 15 minutes away, round trip sort of thing. Unless you live out in the peninsula, and it's one of the things I love about this place. And everything's good. So people don't panic. It's all good. We're all here. We're all good. But it leads me to also, I guess, put up my one COVID update for me today, which is this one here. So here I am, as it says on my tweet today. So here I am, still positive on day 8. And according to the government, I'm good to leave isolation. Anyone in Dunedin want to catch up for a coffee or a game of Pass the COVID? Because it is indeed day 8. I am indeed positive. And as we know, thanks to our experts like Dr. Anna Brooks, if you are positive on a rat, you are still infectious. So there you go. So look at me, not even really set up properly yet. I'm not sure we're all good to go, but we're here. And look, being honest with you, we're going to do one story, and then I'm gone because I'm going to go upstairs and check on people and make sure everyone's okay, and which people are. But you'll appreciate I've just literally driven up the driveway from the hospital. So we're going to do one story about Auckland's biggest arsehole, and then we're going to wrap it up for the night.
So many to pick from, though.
Before we do that, though, actually, can I just say this? I said we're going to do one story. We are going to do one story, though. I'm not even going to play this whole thing because the government gets a lot of crap at the moment for the economy and how bad it is. This is one of the lead stories off News Hub tonight.
Tēnā tātou katoa, good evening. Stupendously strong. That's how one of our largest banks, ASB, has described the economy after Stats NZ announced a 2%
2% GDP growth. That'll do. This is the next thing's gonna happen. Things are gonna lag on us, aren't they? Which is gonna make it even more difficult. So we've been told we're heading towards a recession, perhaps a shallow recession next year of 0.8. Everyone's telling us how terrible it's doing. GDP up 2% today. Economists saying that it is quote unquote stupendously strong economy right now. Yeah, but that National Party needs to get in and really fix everything, don't they?
Hang on. Wasn't the party of the economy saying that Grant Robertson's terrible finance minister? He's done a horrible job. Everybody's doomed. Everybody's losing their houses.
Has achieved nothing.
Oh my God. 0.8 recession. Oh my God. Like, things can't always grow forever.
Yeah.
Can people just remember that, please?
And look, we're not going to delve into that tonight, but I did just want to, in 30 seconds, highlight, we hear
news.
Like, I'll be honest with you. I did something today which was a bit silly. I texted a talkback radio show because someone was going on and 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 on about the fuel tax, a particular commentator on one of the talkback stations, about the fuel tax coming back on and how it was going to be inflationary. And I just texted and said, could particular host please explain inflation to us all? Because it doesn't seem to me to be inflationary. How do you define inflation? To which they then read out my full name and surname, which I didn't know the radio station had stored in their file when I sent in a text, which was a little bit embarrassing. I'm sure nobody heard that. But it was I guess the example I'm outing myself there a little bit and also being a bit embarrassed by that was we're hearing constantly time and time again, either accurate troubles that the government's going through financially or exaggerated ones. So we got to put out the good ones as well. GDP up 2%, stupendously strong, says the ASB. So, when you hear the other side of it, not one metric can be measured for a positive thing for Grant Robertson and fight. Well, actually, let's do the research.
That's a pretty big one.
Yeah. GDP up
like
2%.
Massive, like wages are up. Employment is up. GDP still very strong. Like those are big ticket items for a finance minister.
Yeah.
Like remember what people were talking about when COVID kicked in and we were looking at global lockdowns and stuff like that. That was just like we were talking Mad Max fucking things. We're all going to be roving gangs of ravagers within 6 months.
So as you know, we walk and chew gum at the same time. If there's something that needs to be criticized, we do and will. But if there's something that we kind of got to go, hang on, all this narrative about how terrible this government is with the economy and how they're the worst thing since, I don't know, moldy bread for the economy, if that's the make up a saying there, actually stupendously strong. That's how our economy under this government was described today. Enough said. Right. Let's look at this absolute tosser who is the mayor of Auckland and how he is completely unfit for office. I don't want to beat around the bush and kind of go, what is he doing? He is unfit for office. I did a whole bunch of interviews with mayors leading up to the last mayoralty election, and love him or hate him, the mayor of Dunedin, whether you agree with his politics or not, the one thing I was impressed with in the interview is how much he wouldn't comment on because he was the mayor. Right? There was things that obviously all the people running for mayor and all that were saying all these things about, we're going to fix this, we're going to fix that, and this is terrible. And there was things that he actually wouldn't because he was the mayor. And because he was the mayor, he had to actually hold his tongue on some things, which kind of made it difficult to defend some of the attacks that were coming for him. That's a lesson that Mr. Wayne Brown may need to learn, to keep his mouth shut and not offer a speculative opinion about things like Auckland Airport, causing Auckland Airport to have to lose and stop trading shares because of something the mayor said in a meeting, Chewy.
Yeah, absolutely, just stunningly dumb. It's how I thought that played out. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah, let's have a look at it for people who need to get picked up or caught up on it. Let's have a look at what was said.
Off-the-cuff comments that plunged one of our largest listed companies into a trading halt. Auckland Mayor Wayne Brown claiming Auckland Airport set to initiate a capital raise for its new domestic terminal.
I don't think they have announced it yet, but you don't have to be particularly forward-looking to see that that's coming.
Except, according to Auckland Airport, it isn't. The company forced to issue a trading halt pending an announcement. That eventual announcement taking aim at Mayor Brown, saying his comments are simply incorrect. The Auckland Mayor forced to clarify his remarks.
When I spoke previously about airport capital raisings, I was only assuming or guessing there would be one. I don't know any specific knowledge that there will be one.
But not keen to discuss them post-meeting. Staffers going into bat instead.
The Mayor has made the comments, so I think it's fair that we ask him for his response.
Does anyone have any other questions?
It was the Auckland Mayor's biggest day in office yet.
This guy is so far out of his depth. And this is a tweet that I put out today about it, right? So Auckland Airport halts trading because of information and speculations that Wayne Brown made public, likely financially damaging the asset that Auckland City partly owns. Welcome to right-wingers trying to run governments like businesses. Although in saying that, with a bit more research that I did today, I think it's a little bit generous, us describing him as a businessman. Yes, he's run some businesses and he owns a pub. He's been on boards of lots of things. But, when you hear people saying, this politicians never run a business, it's like, actually, when you think about that, you think about them doing something or building something. That's actually not who he is. But what he is an utter asshole who goes, I'm going to solve it. Don't fucking question me. And we have evidence of that, right? I'm going to first of all show you a story from a week ago. There was an opening to a film studio in Auckland that was he was there at the opening, and the media was there to cover it. He refused to talk to the media, and he ended up doing something like, you know, in Fair Go when they catch out the dodgy plumber. And they walk up on him, and he does this whole hand in the, you know, this thing, the dodgy plumber. He comes off like a dodgy
Auckland Mayor
plumber.
Wayne Brown has continued his cost-saving crusade this week, but he's not keen to answer questions about it.
Nick Trubridge caught up with him at the opening of a new Auckland film studio.
Media invite opening.
Auckland Mayor Wayne Brown not exactly keen to answer basic questions on budget proposals and possible asset sales. Instead, at this media-friendly event, he told us to talk to the hand.
Just a few minutes. Just get out.
He was here to open this to news.
He's there to open it at a media event, and he won't talk to the media.
Oh my God.
So today, after he royally fucked up, completely out of his depth, offering an opinion when he should have kept his mouth shut, this is his attitude towards the media, rightfully calling him out.
Did you take the focus off the budget today by a few ill-timed remarks?
Any informed person can make a suggestion. I didn't make
No,
a
they
statement on behalf
can't.
of anything.
Not the mayor of a
Looks out
city.
there and sees what I think.
No one can halt halt trading, though, Mayor.
All the way through my campaign, I suggested that interest rates will rise and there will be a much larger in level of inflation than anyone expected. All the way through the campaign, media questioned that and said, you're not right. And it's turned out
the triggering of a trading halt.
Wow. We're talking specifically about your comments today, not your past comments in the campaign, just the basis for those comments today. All we're asking for is
Look at that face.
the basis of those comments.
And that it could almost halve the council's shareholding once the capital raising went through.
You can't just say there's nothing to see here, surely.
there's anyone of companies is allowed to consider what they may or may not do.
Not everyone is the mayor of the country's largest city, though.
Bingo.
And the large
Bingo. That'll do.
Oh my God. What an angry, ill-tempered man that has just stumbled. Like, he's just stumbled into this job. It's just very clear that it's shoot from the hip and I've got reckons. And this is the thing that just drives me batty. What are his qualifications? He's been a mayor of the far north before that was riddled with really dodgy dealings and contracts being given to companies that he had vested interest in. And then people have gone, all right, we've got a choice for Auckland City, this guy or a Brown guy. Well, I know where my vote's going.
Yeah.
And this is what they've got. They've got a guy who cannot, like, he's a business guy that doesn't understand how business works, apparently. Who doesn't understand his responsibilities and the things that he says will have effects on people.
But I think this is the point. What business people do and what businesses do. Carl also says, bloody hell, when the CEO makes a comment that causes a trading halt, the board looks for blood on the floor. Mm-hmm. Pretty spot on. And look, we're hearing it time and time and time again. I'm a businessman. I'm a businessman. I'm a businessman. You know, they've never run a business. A city, a council, a government is not a fucking business. You cannot treat a council decisions, council assets, services like a business. Because if you did, for example, all the libraries would be gone tomorrow, right? So it's not to say I'm a businessman and I have business credentials is not a metric for measuring are you going to be a good politician. What we're seeing here, and we saw it last night, Chewie, when you joined us with that that Kaipara mayor as well.
Yeah.
Is that there are people who are like, I know best, don't question me. He is going to get slaughtered this term, and I'll say it here now, right? I'll put it out there. He will not be the mayor at the end of this term. He won't survive this. Because if he thinks that he can just treat the media like that, and I'm not saying the media are worthy of being treated with kid gloves, but they are going to tear him a new one. He will not be able to handle it. Because like most fucking alt-right, right-wing, people who think they're authoritarians, they have the thinnest skin in the world.
Oh, absolutely.
And he will not be able to handle it. On top
There-
of the thing that happened today makes him unfit in and of itself for the office he holds.
Yeah. There's a reason, and it's startlingly obvious now, right? That there was a lot of questions why all media appearances were cancelled, interviews weren't happening. He just wasn't fronting, and everybody's like, this is pretty weird. Now we know why. He cannot take any sort of criticism, and it's kind of like he's going, yeah, I'll have a crack at being mayor of Auckland. It'll be just like being the mayor of the far north. Well, no, it's not, because this country's biggest city, the powerhouse of our economy in a lot of ways, gets a bit more attention. But yeah, he looks out of his depth. He looks like extremely thin-skinned. And
The other thing
like
is
someone who's just not across his job.
Yeah, and look, if he hasn't, so let's give him some grace, right? He learned today that he can't just say what he wants when he wants. But then the correct response after that is mea culpa. And the response he gave was, you media. It's like, no, you fucked up. And the media was absolutely in their right to go, no. We want to know where that information came from that you decided to put on record and mention publicly that caused this asset that Auckland City owns part of to have to halt trading, potentially damaging it, and you did that. Why? Not media. It's like, no, you don't get to do that.
No, look over here. This is the thing. Yeah, I mean, his whole, like, right from the start, when he was like, oh, I've demanded to see the books, the publicly available books.
Yeah,
of the finances of it, and he's going down this thing of saying, oh, we've got too much debt. Auckland City's debt is well within tolerances.
Yeah,
like they're servicing their debt. It costs them 10% of their revenue to service their debt, which is good order for a city. He's sitting on a massive amount of assets.
Yeah, and
then he's done this, and I just don't. It seems a bit grifty. I'm going to tank the share price, and then maybe some of my mates will swoop in and get them when Auckland City divests its 18% of its shares, or half of that. He's sitting on like almost $3 billion worth of golf courses, but there hasn't been any mention of that. But daycare centres. Council-run daycare centres are on the chopping block. Apparently,
I don't know. I'd like to
mental.
Just that on that point, I'd like to know more about the golf courses. I used to play a lot of golf in Auckland, and there aren't that many public golf courses. There's lots of private ones. So I'm interested as to what that number is and where it's from. Not to negate your point at all, but like I used to play at Chamberlain Park, which is by Western Springs, quite a lot, which is a public. But I don't know. We'll. So have you got it? Oh, there you go.
Right there.
The publicly owned land. So where is that? That is Chamberlain Park, I think, because that's right beside the motorway.
There's 13 golf courses operating on 535 hectares of council-owned or managed land, covering an area 1.25 times larger than Auckland City Centre.
Okay.
The publicly owned land is estimated to be worth $2.9 billion.
So they may not look. Let's not get into a debate about is he right or is he wrong. That may not be publicly owned golf courses. That might be private owned golf courses using public owned land as well, but like leasing the land. But yep, cool, sweet, see it. But even so, there's $3 billion there. Look, and as we all know, right, and you know this, Chewy, you've owned houses and own house at the moment. In an ideal world, always the best decision to make financially is if you can afford to keep your assets. We can't always.
100%.
Sometimes we have to sell your house to buy the next house. But if you can afford it to keep it, which is, as you've just said, Chewy, and as we have said before, it's not about Auckland having debt. It's about if the rates and the rate payers can service that debt. And as you've just said, they can. So why would you sell the assets?
For the gateway, not only to the city, the international gateway, the thing that brings everything in, but also to the country as well. Like, I don't see why a city would want to divest its share and its level of say into an asset like that. It makes no sense. Like, Wellington danced around it for ages and then finally realized that it was fucking dumb. So they stopped talking about it.
I don't know if I should be offended by this comment or not. What do you think? Somehow I'm not surprised. Pat is a golfer.
He's got those the socks and the little knee pads.
It's the Irish ginger Celtic side of me. I used to be a golfer before I broke my back. Hey, listen, tonight's show is going to be incredibly truncated. I actually want to get upstairs in a few minutes and just check on people who have just come home from hospital. But before we do that, very quickly, I want to play this because it's interesting that this right-wing echo chamber known as Sky News is actually talking about the lifelong ban on cigarettes that New Zealand has done, and commentators within Sky News are saying, is this a good idea? Let's play this super quick. Let's have a quick 5-minute chat about it, and then it'll be good night for me and good night from him, as the two Ronnies used to say, and we'll be back tomorrow night.
Let's get into our Wednesday wrangle with Liz Storer and Justin Smith. I've got to flip the order around here because Liz and I were arguing as we were getting ready to come back on air. New Zealand banning cigarettes for people when they turn 14, and that ban carries with them all their lives. This is madness. How can you support this?
I don't exactly support it, but if you look at the Australian ABS data, the recent stuff, smoking is responsible for 13% of our deaths each year. That is astronomical.
So is eating, so is drinking, so is eating.
It's responsible for 8.6% of our disease burden.
So you outlaw smoking.
I'm simply saying we can't keep saying nanny state and running off in a huff.
Yes.
The problem is the same host who's playing wanker's advocate. He won't therefore say, he's going to say, oh, so we should ban it because it's bad. But he also won't say, let's legalize cannabis. So like he's trying to say everything else is bad, so why should we ban it? But he's not going to say everything else is bad, so we should legalize it. And that's what these echo chambers do. Look, there's one other commentator. It's only 30 more seconds or so. I'll just play what they have to say.
When it is so clear, okay, well, where do you draw the line when something is so clearly bad for people? And here's where I think is the difference between just going, oh, nanny state, because nanny state is when it's not affecting others. And we go, Chris, you do you. It is affecting me because we, the taxpayer, have to pay for the inordinately large burden they are on the health system.
Cigarettes? Justin, don't tell me you're going to be all on this too. If you're going to ban smoking, ban it one day for everyone. I would oppose that anyway, but that's the way to do it, not have this two classes of people depending on which year
Two classes of people, like the vaccine, two classes.
I was about to make a cup of tea and just sit back and watch you. This is just glorious stuff. Oh, yeah. No, look, I'm all for it because I tell you, what I like about it is that a government has had the testiculo grandes to actually ban it not just accept the tax that they get out of it. And
there you go. There's a total. And look, there's an article as well out of the BBC saying that thousands of people will live longer, healthier lives, and the health system will be $5 billion a year better off from not needing to treat the illnesses caused by smoking. So that's always interesting about these right wingers, especially these people who like to call themselves like, what's the word, Chewy? The opposite of authoritarian. My COVID brain has dropped it out of my head.
Oh, libertarians.
Libertarian. They're like freedom. They won't go freedom in other areas, but they also often they're fiscally conservatives. Actually, a fiscally conservative person should support this because it's going to save a shit ton of money. So actually, you're not hurting anybody. You're helping people. It's better for them. It's better for the environment. It's better for their kids. It's better for the tax coffers. So who's against this? Oh, but just nanny state.
If you rephrased it and said, look, this percentage of the population draws more health funding than any other, and just left that hanging there, oh, I wonder what group we're talking about, and then turned around and said, yeah, it's long-term smokers. And not an ethnic group, as an example. They'd be furious about these greedy people taking all of the hard tax dollars and making the health system work harder. But yeah, for some reason, cigarettes are different. And I would imagine that's because of the enormously deep pockets of Philip Morris, etc. Look, the answer to this is, and I just thought of it before we went on, right? So I think it's right to draw the parallels between other restricted substances. You mentioned cannabis. That's a direct parallel. You can't have those same conversations, apparently, between tobacco and cannabis. The answer is let people grow their own plants. If you want to put a greenhouse up and grow some weed or grow some tobacco, make your own tobacco, awesome. Do that. Personal use only. Government's out of it. Go nuts. Give people an out. You know,
I think as well, this nanny state idea that they were talking about, and they'll talk about when it doesn't impact anyone else. I often think about when it serves no other purpose. Like people talk about a tax on sugar. Sugar serves a ton of different purposes. Everybody uses it. It gets used in baking. It gets used in cooking. It doesn't always necessarily have to be, 700 teaspoons in a glass of Coke, right? So there are multiple uses for sugar. When I say uses, it's for a sweetener, but it's not all one thing. Tobacco, there's no multiple uses for tobacco. That's like that argument where people talk about, what about knives? What about baseball bats? Baseball bats kill people as well. It's the same as guns. It's like, no, guns are designed for one job, to pull the trigger and shoot the thing at the other end of the barrel. Baseball bats are designed to play in a diamond game of sport. And yes, it can be used for other things. But when something is only used for one thing, and if that one thing is negative and detrimental to a person and to society, I can see it being a much easier ban than something like sugar or something like, I don't know, even alcohol, because people use alcohol in cooking and that kind of stuff as well. Whereas you don't just drop a cigarette into a nice souffle. So I think it's fine. And look, I think ultimately, long term, everywhere in the world, maybe not everywhere in the world, but everywhere in the Western world, there'll probably be smoking bans, and New Zealand's leading the way. And I think they've done it exactly right by saying, if you're 14 as of next year, you won't be allowed to purchase cigarettes for your whole life, and if you're 57 and you've been a lifelong smoker, then you can go out puffing away. I think that's actually it's a bit like the retirement age. It needs to start going up by a month every year for the next 20 years to put it up by 2 years and 20 years from now. It's a sensible way to do it, rather than that plonker, that ironically white thumbprint of a person that was hosting that show saying, just if you're going to ban it, just ban it now. It's like, yeah, you fuckwit. So no, you don't believe in nuance at all. You don't think it's a good idea, but you don't believe in nuance either. Whatever.
Yeah. Really? Sky News not getting nuance? That's shocking.
All right. If there's anything else, Chewy, any chats you want to mention there? Because we're going to bail. For people who are just joining us and don't realise what we're bailing, I apologise, but we're out of here quickly. I've had someone in the house in hospital today, and I'm going to go check on them. So we jumped in for a quick hello and a quick chat up, and then we're going to go, and we'll be back tomorrow night from 10. What do you want to wrap up on, Chewy?
Paul Cook in the chat has something that would make those presenters have an instant aneurysm. No one should be allowed to buy fossil fuel if they're born after 09.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
That's the new standard. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that one. I'll do that. I like it because, I mean, the fossil fuel thing is going out the window anyway, because is it? I can't even say which company it was, but it might be Hyundai. No, it's the UK. The UK has basically banned sale of petrol cars from 2030. New cars. So that's coming.
It's starting, and this is my personal sort of whipping boy. This is what people don't get when it comes to the conversation about EVs and transitioning away from petrol. It's going to happen, whether we like it or not, because we're a very small country and we don't make any cars. So yeah.
All right, I think we're going to wrap up for tonight, and you already know why. I apologize. Well, I don't apologize, actually. I'm going to go look after someone, so that's going to be what it's going to be. Before we go, just very quickly, fuck Wayne Brown. Sorry, I just wanted to get that out there again.
Yeah.
Fuck him right in the asshole.
I mean, okay, just real quick question before you
go.
Try not to hold. What does it take to get rid of a mayor in his term?
I mean, unless it was some kind of criminal activity, I highly doubt anyone could get rid of a mayor. It would have to be a mayor stepping down. Look, I just think it's evidence today that he probably, with the greatest of respect to the far north of the North Island, that probably what they did do in the far north of the North Island was offered opinions, and because who the fuck was watching them? Whereas when you're in Auckland, and the eyes of the nation are on you, and you've got permanent journalists with you at all times, you can't just speculate whilst it goes on record and causes our national national airport, our main airport, to have to shut down their trading for a couple of hours to fix up your fuck up. You just can't do that. And he'll either change tomorrow and start operating sensibly, or in my opinion, maybe he won't last the term.
All right, Pat, let's leave it there. You've got to go upstairs and put on your nurse's outfit, which is an image that we can all live with. Yeah.
All right,
team. Nurse.
Thanks for joining us tonight. We'll see you tomorrow night from 10 p.m. Apologies for the truncated version, but for good reason. And I'll see you tomorrow night from 10 p.m. for another edition. All the best. Thank you, Chewy, and we'll talk to you. Oh, this is the last one with you, Chewy. We'll see you on Monday night. for our sort of end of year wrap up for this, but this is the last official one with Chewy. So everyone should say thanks, Chewy, and see you later until whenever it happens next time. We'll see him on Monday, but that's not really going to be a proper show. It's just going to be a catch up. And I will be back with Penny Ashton tomorrow night from 10 p.m. for another edition. All right, team. Hooroo.